I really just try my hardest in life to grow new companies and help others that want to do that same thing. That is just my number one passion. I love to tell entrepreneur stories. I love to hear other ones, and I love to help people in that journey.
All right, this is another episode of Form Your Own Pack podcast. My guest today is Patrick Bryant from Code and Trust. How are you doing, Patrick?
I am fantastic.
That is great. Well, so for people that don't know, who is Patrick Bryant?
I am a serial entrepreneur in Charleston, South Carolina, and Washington, D.C., split time. And I really just try my hardest in life to grow new companies and help others that want to do that same thing. That is just my number one passion. I love to tell entrepreneur stories. I love to hear other ones, and I love to help people in that journey from the lessons I've learned.
That is amazing. Well, we are kindred spirits in that respect. So your current venture is Code and Trust. What is Code and Trust, and what's the big problem that you guys are solving?
Code and Trust is a software development shop for entrepreneurs. We have over 20 software engineers and other staff on the team. And the key to what we do at Code and Trust is to teach software engineers to think like entrepreneurs. So when they're building a new product for an entrepreneur or a corporation that's doing a software startup, we want them to not just look at the requirement docs and say, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do today. Let me put the square box right here. We want them to stand up and go, hey, guys, we think you told me to put the button over here, and looking at it, that doesn't make sense. We need to put the button in a different place, and it needs to be round. And we want to hear that feedback from them and give them the autonomy to really play as they develop the software. And that's how we attract talent, because a lot of software developers like that autonomy to be working on things that they can really make a difference on. And our clients love us because if they've outsourced, they felt the pain of handing something to someone, expecting they're just going to know what they mean. And when it comes back, it's completely useless.
Well, I can feel that pain. As you know, I've been involved in a lot of software projects over the last decade and a bit. So it's interesting, your approach to that's a little bit different, because I mean, first of all, I believe you should never give a software project to a software developer. And it's almost like, because they code, right?
Right.
But not design. So I feel like the first person it usually goes to is a UI UX person, but it sounds like.
And that's true. That's true in our process.
Okay, I was curious about
Code
that.
and Trust, what we do, we start out with what we call phase one, where we take the client through business use case, who's going to use it, competitive analysis, product pricing, all those kind of SEO, naming, branding. Like, we really help them think it through in phase. But and they love that. That gets them excited about the product and really gives them the blueprint. But once we have that blueprint, we want our developers to take ownership at that point too, and really sink their teeth in with using a lot of the foundation that we've used to build. Gosh, we're probably on our 30th software application / web app at this point. And so our developers have all these tools that they can move incredibly quick, right? Stripe integration or GPS or in-app notifications. They know them in and out. They can move really quickly, and they can suggest along the way, hey, let's do it this way instead of that way, and save the startup a lot of time and cost.
I love it. Okay, so they're being involved more in the architect as opposed to the product design. What's one important piece of advice that you can give founders around developing new products?
The number one that everyone talks about is get there as quickly as possible to figure out if the market wants it, to test it, to hear their feedback. Our belief, and we've proven it many, many times, is that you need to build something. And while we even talk about minimum viable product, one of my good friends coined the phrase minimum viable conversation. I mean, how can you just get to a point that you've got enough, and even if that screens out of our phase one, that you can go ahead and take it to a client that day and say, look, I'm going to have this online in 30 days. Here's what it will do. Here's what it looks like. Will you pay for it? And will you pay the amount that I think that I'm going to price it for? And have those conversations as quickly as possible so that the client is in on the process as you're building it out. The sooner you can get to first customer and hear their feedback, and not in a beta way, they are going to pay you some money to use this product way, that to me is the magic.
I love it. That is fantastic advice. As you know, we also advocate rapid prototypes and then going to real customers as much as possible. So that is terrific advice, I think, and consistent. Now, I know that a lot of what you do is you like to get into companies when they're 0 and get them to 20, 24 people. And part of that is that you're really strong on the business development side. So how is it, for example, with Code and Trust that you found your first customer?
Well, Code and Trust, interestingly enough, came out of a need idea where we had 2 other products. We've got Event.Gives, which is a fantastic platform for nonprofits. And then we've got Team4ia, which is a platform for HR folks and engaging employees. And so those 2 products we were working on, and we had 2 dev teams for each of those products. And one night we said, oh, we need to hire a position for Event.Gives. And my partner, Andrew, with Team4ia, overheard and said, hey, if he can have this skill set, then I could share him and we could, get somebody that's even stronger. And that conversation within an hour led to, well, if we got clients involved, we could have a much larger dev team with a whole bunch of skill sets under roof.
Okay.
And then that way we'll be able to support the clients and we'll have an amazing tech talent team for our 2 products. And of course, that's what the birth of Code and Trust became. That's how we put it out there. And so really our first client we already had. It was Event.Gives, and number 2 was Team4ia. But then for me, it was that next step of putting it out into the world, really sharing in a very large way with our networks and potential folks in our home markets, DC and Charleston. Just that we were here, we were doing it now, and seeing what their needs were. And as we started to meet with them, just like any product, they started telling us, wow, if you could do this, I can engage very quickly. And that's when we started hiring people that could serve their needs.
I love it. All right. Now, we talked about one thing that was kind of interesting. It sounds like you also have a nonprofit around coding. Maybe just touch on that quickly and what role that plays in your business.
So in Charleston, South Carolina, we've got the Harbor Entrepreneur Center, and the Harbor has a code school devoted to moving people from an underemployed situation, say they were working for UPS or they're coming out of the military, and they are at a transition point. And we put them in this code school over 14 weeks. They learn to code, and almost to a person, I mean, it's higher than 90%. People come out the other side with a $50,000 or more a year job. And it is so fun to watch that happen and to help scholarship people to go through that. We've got a number of scholarship funds that if people want to make that transition, we can help them do it from a cost perspective. And so it's really helping drive the enormous need for tech talent in Charleston. We are negative unemployment by probably 6-8%.
Oh, wow.
In Charleston. For
He's got 2 jobs. Everybody's got,
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, there are, I think last I looked, there were 60 or 80 open positions for more than 90 days in
wow.
Charleston for software development positions. So it's a tight market, and we're trying to help people jump into that gap and move their lives forward through a new career.
That's incredible. I want to acknowledge you for that work. I think that's really important, and anything we can do to bring on more kind of terrestrial technical talent is admirable to me. You know what? I think I look, as you know, I work more these days in kind of like the sales automation, like Salesforce CRM and platforms like that are great opportunity for people too. So if anyone's thinking there's opportunities like what Patrick's saying, or, look into Trailhead and Salesforce, because I think there's tremendous opportunity for those in upward mobility. So those are great opportunities for people that are interested in that sort of thing. I want to be respectful of your time. If you could offer entrepreneurs only one piece of advice, what would that be?
Always, it is get in there and sell something to someone. Just get started in whatever way that you can, whatever field you're an expert in, whatever startup that you can get going, and that you have some contacts that would buy that particular product. I say get out there and start selling and start making money, because that's the key. Everything else will iterate itself as you find the next opportunity.
What has the role of community or partnerships been in your own success?
It is everything to me. I'm a partner guy. I've had 7 successful startups, and not a one did I do by myself. I like to say that I don't want to go to the movies by myself. I don't like being by myself at all. And so for me, partners is everything, both in the individuals that I am business partners with, but also partner channels in sales is something I talk about a lot. My favorite quote is, the best way to make money is to make someone else a lot more money. And I believe that's what you're doing in a partner channel, is you're saying, hey, I've got this product, you know a bunch of people that might need it. Why don't you help me expose it to them, and I'll make sure that you make a lot of money. And that to me is a simple path to success.
That's terrific. How do people get in touch with you?
They can grab me on LinkedIn, Patrick Bryant in Charleston, South Carolina, Code and Trust, or they can check out codeandtrust.com.
I love it. And if anyone's on Twitter, make sure you follow us. I don't know if you're on Twitter, Patrick, but we're
am
making an effort there.
Bryant.
So follow the Founders Pack and the Patrick Bryant. Is that right?
Yeah, B as in the
B. I'm sorry.
B Patrick Bryant.
Perfect. We will put all of that in the show notes. All right. The final thing is, when we have interesting people on the Form Your Own Pack podcast, we like you to nominate other interesting people. We typically talk to investors or entrepreneurs who are starting scalable ventures. So who would you, Patrick, like to see as a future guest that maybe you can introduce us to?
Absolutely. I would love to nominate my business partner, Sam Staley, who he and I have worked on several startups together, and he is a wealth of information, especially on the technical side of the house, and CEO of Event.Gives, which is our nonprofit startup that is tearing the cover off the ball. It's just had an incredible 2 years since COVID. So I'll nominate Sam Staley.
All right, Sam, you've been nominated as a future guest. Patrick, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. We'll look forward to following your journey.
I love it. Thanks, Michael.